I bought this server for 90 euros and got scammed. Not because it didn't work, but for a worse and possible illegal reason. I reported this to the website hosting the sale and they didn't take action, so it appears I will have to. After weeks of diving into the code, me and MOSE came to the conclusion that Guardspiggot is just a copy of two other projects repackaged as his own, and with his own licensing software basically allowing people to steal data if they wanted to. And later in this video, we will talk about the peoples whose hard work were stolen and the potential risks involved when buying these premium server solutions, as this isn't a one-off occurrence, and thousands of players might already be victim of what we think is a scam. So let's dive, but be warned, we are diving deeper than ever before. So sit back, relax, and let me take you on the journey I spent 3 weeks investigating as we uncover the hidden scams of Minecraft. Let me introduce you to our subject today. Guardspiggot, a heavily optimized version of Purper. Alright, that might be a typo. Let's read further. It's based on Paperclip and goes for 90 euros for a license. Now, maybe it's a good idea to set a foundation as to why most of the time paying for a Minecraft server solution is not a good idea. See, if you ever set up a Minecraft server, you likely downloaded the official Minecraft server from Mojang, or maybe the Fabric/Forge mod loader, or PaperMC. All these solutions work fairly well, with PaperMC being fully geared towards performance, but they all have one thing in common. You can download them for free. And in the case of Paper, they are open source, meaning you can make your own version if you wanted to. Being part of the so-called Bucket Fork family, there are hundreds of smaller projects aiming to be faster, or in the case of Purper, customizable. This is why it's so weird that it's referencing Purper as its fork, while trying to be a performance fork. However, there are others like Pufferfish who offer a free open source version, but also have the Pufferfish Plus project, which is a more up-to-date version and claims to have extra features but is paid. So it's important to note right now that not all paid solutions are bad. It's just not the norm. Now, reading into it a little bit further, the tags are also worrying, as it has Yatopia in there. And Yatopia was a famously unreliable school student project and seen as a joke in the community now. So already there are red flags going absolutely everywhere. I feel like I'm Soviet Russia during November. But let's scroll down a little bit further, right? Let's read the reviews from 2020, but this was released in 2023. Maybe they just re-uploaded it here May 20th, whatever. Going even further, it claims to have highly optimized chunks, micro optimizations, and all sorts of fixes. Now, I already can hear you say, Lunar, this doesn't seem so bad. If they actually improve performance, then what's the issue? Well, the question is it worth 90 bucks? A lot of you in my community didn't seem to think so, but the main takeaway in the comments was that if it justifies the price tag, they would buy it. So let's talk about that, because I actually spent 90 bucks of my own money on this for this software, and let's just say, it wasn't worth it. So let's see, is Guardspiggot actually server software? Yes, it actually is. It boots up pretty quick, all my plugins work on it, and it doesn't seem like anything's wrong while running. So that's it, right? It can be a scam. It works and it does all the things it claims it says on the tin. This is where MOSE Mister comes in, an absolute Chad and a tech wizard who helped me decompile the code and basically picked apart all the pieces inside of there, going line by line. And what we found was that the paper code it was based on was a build that no longer was in use. Now, that on its own is not too uncommon, but what was a bit weird was the few mentions of Purper in there. It was while looking at the Purper references that we struck something else. A reference towards Leaf API. After some searching, we found that the code it was referencing towards is this project by DREEAM. No, not Dream the Minecrafter. DREEAM the code maker. Now, DREEAM, being a Chinese Minecraft server owner, started a small project that aims to include performance from Pufferfish and another fork we will get into later, but also integrate all the Chinese characters that Minecraft does not support right now. His code is fully in Guardspiggot without his knowledge. And this is confirmed by both our research on the screen right now and DREEAM themselves. Now, while talking to the developer of Leaf, we found another reference, this time towards Gale, which is the fork Leaf is based on. So let's see what Gale is. According to MARTIJN, the main developer, it was just a project he worked on as he himself also owned a Minecraft server and wanted to improve performance. But eventually, he decided to share his own hard work as open source so other people could use it. But let's actually read the GitHub page. Alright, a performance fork from paper. Alright, includes a faster threading system. Hang on. Micro optimization using Purper. They're not even hiding at this point. This is exactly the same what is on the Guardspiggot page. When I messaged MARTIJN about this, he took it upon himself to dive into the decompiled code himself and also went line by line. And well, we'll get back to that in a second, but I think it's worth mentioning now that we did not find any code that was specifically Guardspigot's, except for its licensing module, Guard Protector, which constantly pinged a server where the developer has a software in place to request a license from the software. If it didn't find one in there, it will crash the server and not start up. It's basically an anti-piracy measure, which is ironic when you realize the whole software is just a carbon copy of Leaf being sold off. With MOSE and MARTIJN going line by line, thousands of lines of code, and not finding a single thing that they added, with the most they did was reversing some changes from Spigot. So is that worth your 90 euros? A repackaged small open source project that ironically adds an anti-theft system to the code that they stole. You cannot make this stuff up. Like, the jokes write themselves. Like, I could put like Captain Jack Sparrow on the screen right now. But sadly, it's not all fun and games, as MARTIJN found that the Guard Protector code can be exploited as it's obfuscated, meaning nobody can see what it's doing. It can also potentially be used to run code on your computer, potentially stealing your data like Bleeding Pipe did. You also dug into the network code that he uses to have his license, or the anti-piracy code. You found some pretty dangerous thing in there. Could you explain to me what those precisely are?
Right. So the thing is, if I want to preface this with, it's probably nothing. It's probably not dangerous. But the point is, it's obfuscated. And first of all, I probably normally wouldn't even run any closed source plugins or anything. Like, all of the plugins that I run are either on my own server, are either my own, or they're open source. It starts with being closed source, which is a bit of a problem, but then it's also obfuscated, which means even if you look at the code, you have no idea what it's doing. And then what it's doing is it's using reflection. Reflection is really useful, and I use it a lot. Everyone uses it a lot, way more than they should, or Oracle is not happy. The thing is, with reflection, you can do anything. There are some new protections in newer versions, but they're very weak and they don't apply to anything relevant here. So usually you can do anything. And the thing is, when the code is obfuscated and you can see that it is using reflection, it could be doing absolutely anything. I mean, it could be receiving a piece of text via the network that has the name of a function, right? So even if you look at the code, you have no idea what it's gonna do.
So running Guardspiggot doesn't only take 90 bucks from your pocket, it also leaves you open to potential cyber attacks. Oh wait, actually, let's talk about that 90 euros, because I lied. It's 90 euros for a license, but to extend that license, you need to pay 35 euros every year. So you literally have to subscribe to a guy, which you don't even know if he's even going to support the software for much longer. But your whole server depends on paying 35 euros a month on some random developer that stole someone else's code. How is this even allowed to continue? Especially when you realize it's downloading Minecraft code from a non-Mojang URL. For the people who don't know, since the Bucket outrage in 2014, it is illegal to distribute Minecraft code from any other sources than the original Minecraft/Mojang download page. This is why many forks nowadays have a patcher, which I explained in my paper/Spigot video, that downloads the Minecraft code from Mojang and then applies their own changes depending on the fork. But Guardspiggot doesn't do that. It downloads it straight from its own URL. Like, for all the talk Twitter likes to do about the new EULA being 1984, where are the outraged people now? Why is no one reporting the actual scams? Like, am I the only one who just messaged Mojang about this? I can't, right? I can't be the only one. Does Build by Bit, the actual servers hosting the listing, even do any research? Actually, speaking of that, now after finding all of this, DREEAM and MARTIJN confirming that it's using their own code without their consent. MOSE digging so deep and finding nothing changed. And MARTIJN's findings about the potential code that could be vulnerable to exploits, we reported it to the website hosting the listing. Not only for this listing, but for the many other listings it has. Well, while I don't have the time to go through every one of them, or the money, but for this one, we actually reported it to Build by Bit. And now after some initial interest into the subject, as soon as I sent the evidence, including the decompiled code, about our findings over, they went silent. Now, it's important to note here that I'm not claiming any ill will on the part of Build by Bit here. They are likely busy, or if it's anything like the rest of the Minecraft world, their employees are very underpaid. However, with over 3 weeks of no response, we decided to push forward with the story, as we think more people should be aware of these repackaged open source projects being sold off as a better alternative. Sadly, this happens a lot in the open source community. And not only in Minecraft. And I think it's up to us as consumers of these projects, with hours of work put into them, to say no to those seeking profits for the littlest drop of performance. Speaking of performance, let's stop being so super laser focused on it, because we're getting to a point where we think paying a potential scammer for code that is available for free but just lesser known is a good idea. So if you feel like spending money on code or developers, go support Gale or leave. Other than that, I recommend staying away from any paid server software as a whole. I do want to note again, these are all just my findings. Build by Bit isn't necessarily bad in this story. It just could have been, again, that they were busy. But if somebody approaches you with a potential scam on your site, I would personally be more proactive. But for now, I was Lunar, you were awesome, and I'll see you in the next one. I would like to thank my fellow Pebbles. Special thank you to Kamat and Jens for the pledge on the Boulder tier. And a super duper thank you to Farron, Milhouse, Kikiso, and Hans Franz for pledging to me on the Mountain tier. You guys make the amount of time I put into this video worth it, and I love you all. If you would like to have full access to the interview I had with MARTIJN and many others, feel free to pledge on patreon.com/CygnusMC. Thanks again, lads.